Please follow me. In this house. This was the Birla house of the Birla family that were industrialists. Generally, when Bapu came to Delhi, he used to live in the humble surroundings of the sweepers colony. But this time Delhi had different circumstances. It was in the grip of savage riots. And so when he arrived in Delhi in 1947, he was escorted by the newly independent Indian government and brought over here. And when Bapu asked, why am I being taken somewhere else, he was told that his usual place of staying was not safe enough. And so they were concerned about his safety, and so they brought him here. The truth was that for the government of newly independent India, for the ministers of newly independent India, it was much more comfortable to come and visit Bapu over here. And so they wanted him to be within easy access. All the official India was surrounding this place. And so he was brought over here, and he spent the last days of his life over here. This was his day office room, and the outside was where he would spend his time during the day. And the last fast that he undertook in Delhi for communal harmony and peace was conducted from that room. And the bed that you see when we go out on your right is the bed on which he used to sleep while he was fasting. The last 5-day fast, starting from the morning of the 13th and ending in the afternoon of the 17th, was conducted from there. And during his stay over here, many a times the ministers of the government of India would all congregate over here and consult him on some of the decisions. And the last peace declaration that he insisted be signed by everybody was signed, and the pledge of peace taken from that place on 17th January 1948, after which he broke his fast, but with a warning that if any incident of violence happened in Delhi after that pledge was signed, he would go on a fast, unconditional fast, which would mean that he would not eat or drink till he died. And so that happened over there. On 30th January afternoon, he had a very important meeting with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who was the #2 in the Indian government. And Bapu was concerned because there was growing misunderstandings and rift between the Prime Minister Pandit Nehru and his #2 deputy Sardar Patel. And so Bapu was meeting with Sardar Patel over here, and the meeting went beyond schedule. And for the first time in his life, Bapu actually ignored the time and continued his talk with Sardar Patel. And so on that fateful day, he was about 10 minutes late to go for his evening prayers. Those of you who saw Gandhi saw the last shot where they show, the shot is taken from the prayer grounds, and it feels as if the crowd is looking at this home to see Bapu emerge. And then they see Bapu emerging from the door. That was a bit of a historic liberty taken by Attenborough because it made the shot look much more dramatic. But in actuality, after his meeting with Sardar Patel, he took his leave with Sardar Patel over here, and he walked this way, and this was the door through which he stepped out to go towards the prayer ground. And you will see that it goes around the next wing of the house, And only once he goes around there that the people at the prayer ground would have been able to see him come. So he stepped out of here and he started walking. And there were 2 or 3 people who had come, who were refugees who had come from another part of India, and they came and bowed to him and they requested him to give them a few minutes to speak with him. But he was getting late, and he told them, he said, if I come back alive after the prayers, I will speak to you. And he continued ahead. We will now go out and we will follow the path of his last walk. My request to all of you is that this path has been demarcated with footprints. They are not his footprints, but they are just an representation of his last walk. We will try and avoid not to walk on that. We will go side by side. We will go to the place where the failed attempt on 20th January 1948 happened. I will explain that event to you over there, and then we will go to the spot where he was murdered, and I'll explain the events of that evening also over there. So please, let's go ahead, and we will, before we lay down and conducted his last fast from 13 January to 17 January. Take a look at this sort of bed when we go there. He had a ritual. Every evening he would have a public prayer meeting wherever he was. And when he stayed here in the last 150 days of his life, every evening there used to be a public prayer meeting in this area, this grounds. But because that was a residential house of the Birla family, people were not given easy access from everywhere. So people who came for the prayer meetings would come from a gate there where my father is now walking in from, and they would come in to this area from this small gate over there. And Bapu would come from there, as I showed you, as the walk indicates, and he would come up those steps there and come and sit over here. This is now recently added. This wasn't the kind of high seat that Bapu used. You know, I showed you that other bed in that room, and I said I'll tell you about it later. That used to be kept over here. And this photograph shows how he used to sit on that bed. And the rest of his entourage would sit around him, and they would conduct the prayers. Over here, there used to be a setup for broadcasting, because after independence, post-independence, all his evening speeches were relayed to the nation from here. They would be taped over here and they would be sent, passed through to the studio, and they would be relayed to the whole nation. So the broadcasting crew would be sitting over here. Any visiting journalist or anybody would be sitting over here. This wasn't this way, this was open over here. If you come here where Alok is standing, somewhere over there, Bapu would be sitting over here. And their hitman was supposed to be hidden inside that servant's quarter. They had made arrangement for him to have access to the servant's quarter. The servant was given money and he was told that they were photographers and they wanted to take a unique photograph of Bapu from the behind. And the servants over here were accustomed to that because in that period there was a lot of people coming to photograph him and interview him and journalists, and especially Margaret Bourke-White of the Time Life magazine and Henri Cartier-Bresson from Paris spent that entire period being over here and photographing Bapu. And Henri Cartier-Bresson was known to be in love with his unique angles, so he would climb up trees and climb up on roofs and things to get unique angles of his photographs with Bapu. And so that servant didn't think it unusual that somebody requested that they wanted to take a photograph of Bapu from behind. The plan was that one of the gang members would explode a bomb on the wall behind this grill. And that would create panic and maybe a stampede in the prayer meeting. And taking advantage of that, the man who was hidden in the servant's quarter would fire on Bapu from behind, from that grill. And to ensure that he got rid of Bapu, he would also lob a hand grenade from there to finish off if Bapu escaped the gunfire. Everything went according to plan, and the bomb was exploded on the wall behind. There is a recording of that incident on the recorded tape of that evening's prayer meeting, and after 17 minutes and 5 seconds of, 17 minutes and 5 seconds of that recording, you hear the bomb go off. There's an explosion in the background. And you hear some voices raised. And then you hear Bapu saying, nothing has happened. Quieten down. Be peaceful. Nothing has happened. Nothing is going to happen to us. Keep quiet, keep calm, sit down. The soothing voice of Bapu quietened down all the other people. And it so happened that the 4 gang members were the only ones left standing. And the man who had exploded the bomb was noticed, and he was pointed out to the police, and so he was arrested. For some reason, the man hidden in the servant's quarter who was supposed to fire on Bapu did not. He realized most likely that all the others had an escape plan set, but he was going to be trapped in that room because servants were sitting in their courtyards outside the room. And he realized that he had no way to escape, and very soon they would find out that the shots were fired from this room and he would be caught. And so he aborted the duty that was given to him, and so the attempt on the 20th fizzled out. But in the history of history of assassinations of historic people, Bapu's assassination or murder, as I like to call it, is unique. Because just 10 days later, the survivors of the gang, who were named and identified, and a lot of clues of their identity and their intention were known to the policemen, seemingly with ease, again regrouped over here. 3 of the senior members of the group regrouped over here and entered the prayer ground on the 30th of January mingled with the crowd and carried out their deed. We'll now go to that spot and I will narrate the story of the evening of the 30th. So on 30th January evening, as I told you, for the first time in his life, Bapu was late for his prayers. And it took him, the prayers would generally start at 5 in the evening, and that day it took him almost 17 minutes. There was a delay of almost 17 minutes when he walked down that path and he climbed up those steps to get to the prayer ground where he had to cut through the crowd and go there. That day there was an exceptionally large crowd for the prayer meeting, and so there was a big crowd who were waiting in anticipation for him to arrive. And when he climbed up those steps to get into this place, the crowd opened up to make a path for him to reach the prayer ground. It's a bit difficult for me to narrate the story of that evening, because as I narrate the story, I stand where the murderers stood. And as Bapu reached this space, he blocked his path and shot him thrice. And this was where Bapu fell, at 5:17 that evening. With the name of the god who was dearest to him, Ram, and the lady in whose lap he passed, till the end of your days, said that it wasn't Ram once or twice, but they realized that Bapu was not with them anymore when the chant, the continuous chant of Ram stopped. The tears are not tears of sorrow. The tears are tears of anger, because after killing him, the people, the ideology which murdered Bapu, spent the next 50 years spreading lies to justify his murder. And we who call ourselves Gandhians just turned the other cheek and let the lies prevail. The tears are tears of anger because we allowed those lies to prevail.
Recognize that once you go start on there. Other reason here, you can see the certificate if you want to see. Oh, okay. Right from this park to the final journey.
Don't step on the steps, otherwise it's okay.